It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
And welcome to the realm of geekdom. This is nerd breaking news. We saw the numbers coming out after the first weekend on Memorial Day weekend for the Star Wars film Mandalorian and Grogu, and they don't look good. So what does that mean for the future of Star Wars? We're going to go ahead and talk about it, but before we go ahead and jump into that, make sure you go ahead and like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss any of our episodes. So the Star Wars, the Phantom fan base, Disney is losing the fans. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Kid, go ahead and give us an overview of what we're seeing, what's going on.
So first of all, Mando and Grogu. I don't know who the hell wanted this film. It's a TV show. It's not a film. It's 4 or 5 episodes made to an hour and a half. It's Pablo Pascal being Pablo Pascal. I don't know how far you can go with that. It's just another example of how far Star Wars has fallen. And let's go a little bit of history here for a second. When the prequels came out, especially episode 1, I remember watching episode 1 in theaters. I remember choosing Attack of the Clones over Spider-Man. Bad mistake. And I remember episode 3 in 2005 saying, thank God that movie came out because it saved the prequels. Star Wars is the most toxic fan base. It's been the most toxic fan base for the last 20-something years. People want to say DC, people want to say Marvel, people want to say whatever sports team you like or whatever sports league you like. Star Wars is the OG toxic fan base. The problem is we have too many things going on with Star Wars. It's saturated. The product has gotten dramatically worse, and we've seen it get dramatically worse. We now look at the prequels in a light way after bashing the hell out of it for years because Disney's sequel trilogy was so bad. The last Star Wars film in theaters that was good was Rogue One. Everybody knows that. Every Star Wars fan knows that Rogue One was the last time it was a competent Star Wars film. The problem is who's to blame, right? You can blame Kathleen Kennedy. You can blame Lucas for selling it. Which, by the way, I'm trying to be fair here instead of being on both sides. Why did Lucas sell Star Wars in 2012? Because it was a toxic fan base. There was nothing he could have done. He was still getting destroyed from the prequels. So even George Lucas he couldn't escape the toxic fan base. Disney does what Disney does. They use a product and they exploit it and they make money, and that's what they do. You can't. It's sort of like. You knew Disney was going to mess up Star Wars. You knew it. You had a feeling Disney was going to mess up Star Wars. And they did. Episode 7 you have to go back to Christmas, I think it was 15 when it came out. I was a rare voice destroying that film. Everybody and their mother, I'm talking about like the social media people, the critics, the fans, because remember, that was the first film in 10 years. The last film was 05. Mm-hmm. People were so... I got to get my kids involved. I got to make it a big event and a big deal. And the trailer looked cool. You saw Rey, you saw Finn, you saw Kylo. You saw the film, and you're like, this is not rewatchable. This is really bad. But you still came back for episode 8 because you're like, all right, Luke is here. Save me, Luke. Right? The OG fans are going to come back and do this. And then Leia becomes a Kryptonian. You destroy Luke Skywalker's character, and the fan base couldn't do it. The fan base could not recover after Luke's death. And then nobody saw episode 9, even though allegedly it made $1 billion. Solo, what's it called? The Darth Maul show, the Darth Maul, like all this stuff that's becoming Ahsoka, all these things that have been coming out. They've been made. Obi-Wan was trash. Andor was the only good show in Disney, with the exception of The Mandalorian, the first 2 seasons. That Luke thing that broke the internet a couple years ago. They have too many rare wins since 2012. and and now Filoni's in charge, right? Kathleen Kennedy's gone. Dave Filoni's in charge. Everybody know Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni's the guy who created the Clone Wars, and he's living off his one win 20-something years ago. If the future of Star Wars is Dave Filoni, there is no future. And while Episode 7 was the beginning of the end, I'm going to die on this hill. Episode 8 killed Star Wars. Every Star Wars fan knows that.
To add on top of that, I think it's also an oversaturation of what's going on with Star Wars, and a lot of it is mid. Like you said, like none of the shows that we have on Disney Plus are, attracting anyone to come watch it, right? Like no one's going out of their way to check out Ashoka or the Obi-Wan or the Accolades. Yeah, I know there's a few there are, but for the most part, where's the fans? Why aren't they watching it? What is going on? I think there's just so much going on, and it really doesn't tie in back to the story, the original Luke Skywalker story. That for them, they're like, who cares? It's a side quest, and they just kind of like ignore it. And when now that you have the movie coming out, The Mandalorian Grogu, it is just an extension of that TV show. Though I was really interested in watching that film. So I also add that the mediocrity, just the oversaturation of it, is playing into why the fan base just doesn't want to tune in anymore. What do you think, Eagle? What's your point of view of all this? You're muted, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Sorry. I agree with the kid. I think there is a toxic fan base that there's certain expectations that have not been met. But then again, were those expectations realistic? I think a lot of people got really excited when he sold it to Disney, and obviously the money behind it was going to be used to produce more and more stories. But fans were stuck with the original Star Wars, and I really don't know what to make of it because the stories were already written and into movies. So what was Disney going to do? Basically, I don't know, reshoot the same movies with different characters, with different actors? Like, that was not going to happen. They needed new stories, right? And people hated them. Maybe the approach that, Disney took wasn't necessarily the greatest one. And they basically broke some rules about how do you get your powers? How do you develop? How do you train? And all of that, and just basically brush it off and said, yeah, she's good enough. It's within her, right? That was the whole point. Whether that was the right approach or not, that's for the fans to decide. The movies kind of still made money, but I agree with the kid. I think that the movie that kind of saved them, where you can basically say, yeah, this is a great movie. This reminds you. There's a perfect mix between, the Disney money, the story's good, which is Rogue One. Rogue One is, to me, the movie that they made that you're like, you know what? They probably didn't want to make this movie, and they did it and end up being probably the best in the Disney era. Now, lose the fans Disney has. I don't think so. We're still here talking about it because there's some hope that it will change. Some good content will come out of it. TK was saying that there was just a lot coming out. I think so. I think that's the whole point of what the fans wanted when Disney bought it. Give me more. Give me more. The Tories haven't panned out. Some people like them, some people don't. Obi-Wan, the kid mentioned it, man. So much to desire from that one specifically, right? And the Mandalorian Grogu, the numbers are not good, right? In terms of people going to the movies, they had to understand this. That like at the end of the day, you're turning a TV series into a movie. People are already thinking about this as a TV series. You're not gonna make something like this into a movie and people are gonna go. No, people are used to like, hey, I'm gonna watch, The Mandalorian Grogu when I get home at 11, and I'm gonna watch an episode from 45 minutes. But at the same time, it was such a good hit in terms of the merchandise and the culture. So I guess they were forced to do it, right? Because what else are we gonna do? Every other show that we do, people don't like. And again, is the fan base toxic? man, they're just they are. They are. So, but I guess it's just hard when you're bringing in people to write stories, and most of the time they don't have a lot to base them on. They're just basically going off of like, okay, I read the books, I know a lot of the stories, I watched the movies. This is how I would do it, right? Like the writer, the professor.
But that's the problem. Grogu in Mandalorian was the first movie the theaters in Star Wars brand since 2019, and you gave me trash. You knew it was trash. You knew it was a TV show, and you gave me trash because Filoni greenlighted it. He wrote it with Jon Favreau. We know that Jon Favreau could direct. We've seen Iron Man. We're not blaming Jon Favreau. We're blaming Filoni because he's now the president. I was wrong, TK, when we did the review. I said vice president. He is now the president of Lucasfilm. Filoni is going to run Star Wars for the next, hopefully, year, for the next 5-6 years. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I get it, Eagle. You made a good point. What's the storyline? Ryan Gosling is the next Star Wars film. It comes out next year. Hope to God that Ryan Gosling's star power could give a good Star Wars film. I don't know. We'll see. But that's not an excuse. Oh, we didn't know. I'm not saying you, Eagle. I'm saying the executives. Filoni can't say, hey, there hasn't been a movie in 7 years. Let's give him trash and then hope that the Star Wars are going to eat slob. This is not the MCU. The MCU boys eat slob. They eat all day slob. The Star Wars fans are so toxic, worse than Marvel fans, that they see something and they're like, nah, I'm good. I'd rather watch Darth Maul get shot 7,000 times than watch this. You can't give slob to a fan base that is dying for something better. The expectation of Star Wars, let me remind you what Star Wars was in 1977. It was a pop culture phenomenon. It changed movies. And you give me Grogu and The Mandalorian 7 years after the last movie that was trash. In other words, you've been giving us trash. At least the MCU says, here's Robert Downey. Who do you got?
I have to touch on something the kid just said. To the kid's point, people would rather see Darth Maul get shot at, right? So what do? They gave you a Darth Maul TV show at the exact same time. Coincidence? No, they heard you. They gave you exactly what you wanted. And just like toxic Star Wars fans, exactly. They gave you what you wanted and you still hated it. Yeah. But
the problem is that, like, yeah, Archie, I'll let you go and talk. Go.
Yeah, I agree. Like, who cares about Darth Maul after episode 1? Come on. Man.
Did you all watch He-Man when you were kids?
No, I saw like the next version of He-Man.
Was it good? No, it was trash. He-Man was always trash. He-Man was never good. But because it's a part of your childhood, there's a certain way that you look at it that makes you think it was better than what it was. But then when you go back and you look at it again, you're like, wow, I used to watch that when I was a kid. Yeah. That was horrible. Okay. But now Star Wars, I don't think there's a real conversation about what Star Wars was. So there should be a reminder. It was 6 movies, correct? How many of those movies were actual real films with actual real plots? 4. 2 of them were throwaways. I think we all know which 2 we're talking about.
Correct.
Now, of those 4, how many of those 4 that were actually movies were actually good? Just 2. 1 you might give a half. The other you throw in the garbage. That means the majority of those Star Wars films were bad. That's just a fact.
But most of you're being a disingenuous because
am I?
Because the OG
because you thought about it.
Yeah, you have to understand. No, growing up,
because you can't admit it because it's your childhood.
No, because you're being disingenuous. Growing up, Star Wars, the original trilogy, was revered by critics and fans. It wasn't like the prequels, where we saw episode 1 and we're like, damn, the last 15 minutes was cool. The rest of the movie's trash. We didn't say that about the original trilogy.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
It was universally loved.
You already threw away 3 of them. That's half.
No, but the original trilogy was viewed in a different light than Disney's and George. Yeah. Let me remind you that George Lucas only directed 1 movie.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Before the prequels.
Yeah.
You did the first one. Mm-hmm. And what happened during the documentary of Star Wars? He was getting told no by everybody. Hey, I want Han Solo to be an alien. No. No. And
even if I concede that point, you're still agreeing with me. Half of them are bad.
No, I'm not.
6.
I'm not saying that. Because Revenge of the Sith was amazing.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, jeez.
Revenge of the Sith feels amazing because it ties to your childhood. But if that was not a Star Wars movie and that was anything else, it would not be revered at all. It literally leans on the intellectual property that it uses. Objectively, that is not a well-acted film. That is not a well-written film. It does not have good. That is not a good movie. We appreciate it for what it is because it's a Star Wars movie. And this is my point to you about how we look at things that tie to our childhood. We give them bonus points that sometimes they don't really deserve. But now when you put that aside, how many Star Wars games were there? There were a lot, weren't there? How many of those were good?
The Super Nintendo ones? Amazing.
How many Super Nintendo ones were there?
Based on the OG trilogy. I wonder why.
Exactly.
I wonder why.
How many right, but how many PC games were there?
Several.
Many.
Yeah.
How many can we remember? Ugh.
Jedi Academy.
It gets hard. Jedi Academy, sure. But when you add together all of the games, what number are we talking about? A lot.
The N64 one's not bad. But yeah, I get you.
There are a lot. But again, how many are actually memorable? Half.
Battlefront, the old 2 Battlefront was amazing.
Sure.
Everybody loved that Battlefront game.
Sure.
People were trash. The game was amazing.
Sure. But going back to my point, ultimately, you land at half. Going back to the books, how many books did they make? About 100.
Yeah.
How many are good? Less than half.
Yes.
How many comic books did they make? Many. How many are memorable? Like 2. Most of them are trash.
And what
so the reality of
the OG trilogy? What stands the test of time?
So basically, in order to sell anything, they always had to go back to the original trilogy every single time. And you're talking about a franchise lasted from 1977 to about the 2010s on its own, right? So you're talking about something that was owned by one guy.
You mentioned video games. What was it? Oh my God, what was that game that was amazing?
You can't remember the name, exactly.
Jesus.
Exactly. That's my point. So again, when you look back at it, how good is it really?
Oh my God. Jesus.
Exactly. Oh my God. That's my point.
It was 1,000 years before episode 4.
Talking about the game.
You're talking about Knights of the Old Republic, right?
Oh, gee, that was a part 1 and part 2 were.
There we go.
Nope. You're misremembering again. Part 2 is trash. Part 1 is good. But just like all things Star Wars, by leaning on the intellectual property, we give the trash one bonus points. We give it brownies just for having the nice branding on it. But objectively on its own, do you remember the story of Knights of the Old Republic 2? Nobody does. That's the thing. So when you're looking at Star Wars, it has always batted 50% or less. That's not new. So then you say, okay, Disney bought it. And when you're looking at Disney's track record, it's still about 50-50.
No. Hell no. There's only one good movie they made.
Wait, there's more. Because when you're looking at it, what they ended up doing is Disney literally has taken Star Wars and leaned into what it actually is. It's a toy business. And rather than pretending that it's anything else, they have literally admitted these things exist just to tell toys. The end. They make a Darth Maul show to sell toys. They make a Bad Batch show to sell toys. They make the sequel movies to sell Disney experiences.
You're giving Disney credit. Lucas did that. Like that's not new. Lucas did
that. But what we know is that Disney did it double. Because right now the profitability of the thing is double.
Yeah, and the films, let me know.
They don't care about that. They don't, because ultimately those films are just merchandising experiences. They know it. We know it. Everyone knows it.
It's in January. You can't sit here and say that the first film in 7 years and it bombed in the box office and Disney doesn't care about brand. Disney doesn't care about
That's not what I said at all. That's what you said. What I'm saying is that
merchandise.
Nope. Yeah, merchandising. Yeah. So the question is, how much does it sell in terms of merchandise? Do you know what Disney's top 3 most popular characters are in terms of merchandising? What's number 1?
Mickey.
Mickey? No, my bad. Star Wars. What's the number 1 most merchandisable Star Wars character?
Baby Yoda.
Nope. Darth Vader.
What?
Number 2, Luke Skywalker. Baby Yoda's number 3. That means that in the 10 years that they've owned this thing, they have created a character more popular than the majority of all, including Anakin, including the original Yoda. They make $100 million profit off of Baby Yoda per year. $100 million.
Those are
the character.
But
that
those-
only appeared on a
but
TV
those-
show.
But those are the casual idiots that like Star Wars because Star Wars wasn't cool 30 years ago.
Why?
People
I feel like
think
you're getting upset.
because
This goes back to my point.
I'm not getting upset. I'm
It's
saying
because it affects your childhood.
no, it
It
doesn't.
activates you.
I don't care about that. True. Everybody who knows me here doesn't know that I have no heart about anything in the past. First of all, you know that's true. Think, when have I ever been nostalgic about anything? Come on, man, get out of here with that.
All the time.
Star Wars. People, growing up, Star Wars wasn't as cool as it is now.
It wasn't as cool as it is now?
Star Wars back in the day.
Are you saying it's cooler now than it was before?
It's cool to be a Star Wars fan now than when it was.
I rest my case.
It is.
I rest my case.
Back in the day, it was only the nerds and the geeks who liked Star Wars 30 years ago. Now, Joe Blow, I see people randomly wanting Star Wars. I mean, you guys don't know anything. If I ask you a question about the fourth move of Hoth, you're not going to name that. You see what they're not Star Wars fans. They're like the MCU people.
Where's my gavel?
There's the MCU people.
The court rests. That's it.
So I think I could throw a little caveat on that. Is that you got to forget how phenomenal the first three films were during their time. Like people, like I remember this story that my mom told me. And she snuck out of school with her friends and they took her to see the first Star Wars film. She had no idea. She wasn't into that genre. She fell in love with it.
Yeah.
It spread out. She says it was a huge fan base that was in the school. You know, it was a phenomenon. It was a big event. And then all of a sudden, a couple years later, we got the second film coming out, and then later on the third one. And it was just this momentum of building to the point that the frenzy created the fandom that exists now. And everything that's kind of fallen out of there has been mostly, like you said, it's all about the business sense of selling toys and whatnot. But we can't forget that all was based on how great those three films were received in their time.
But it's kind of like, that's the same thing with everything. Whenever you have any kind of product, it doesn't matter what product you're selling. You could be selling oranges. You sell an orange. The first orange tastes a certain kind of way. But after you have a certain amount of oranges, you're like, oh, it's just an orange. But guess what? You still love oranges. Not as much as the first time. But you still have no problem buying those oranges. That's what it's like selling any kind of product. It doesn't matter what it is. Mm-hmm. Over time, nostalgia will dictate why you continue to buy the product rather than your everyday necessity of it, if that makes any sense. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
You can that same analogy works for every single franchise under the sun. Stargate, DC, The Boys, all of them.
I think there's a gross understatement how toxic this fan base is, and
we agree.
Disney has to be very careful because this is a huge. Nobody wants to bomb in a film, let alone bomb with the Star Wars brand. And if you look at 2012 when they bought it, how many L's does Disney have? How many wins does Disney have?
You have to right. The right approach is count the wins because the losses are just the rest.
True.
Like
Andor and Rogue One, right? Can we all admit Andor and Rogue One are the only critically acclaimed Star Wars show movies since 2012?
Well, here's
after
the question.
a while, the toxic fan base that is hating on everything.
Everyone's saying time.
Yeah, I'm just saying. After a while, the toxic fan base that hates on everything Star Wars, which we all agree they're toxic, the most toxic fan base in pop culture. After a while, Professor, it's getting to the point where the fan base is so bad, talking about like past Snyder level bad, so bad that it could be great with Ryan Gosling next year, and because of what happened in the last 14 years, it's going to have such a dramatic effect on the idea of the brand of Star Wars.
But you already said the solution. You already solved the problem yourself.
Nah, there is no problem.
You did. You already cracked the case.
Nah, Filoni's here. Get him out.
He knows what he's doing.
No, he doesn't. How's Grogu doing?
Great. It makes $100 million profit a year, minimum.
Yeah, the film.
Well, we can get into that, but we're out of time.
Correct. Unfortunately, we are out of time. So what do you guys think about the topic, right? Do you guys agree with what we're saying? Maybe you have a different perspective or a different angle that we didn't cover, right? Right now, like we were saying, he's new. It's a kind of wait and see where this is going. And it's really going to be this fan base to really determine what the future is at. So prove us wrong, Star Wars fans. Let us know. Share this video to all your Star Wars friends and show that this fandom is still alive. So thank you for tuning in. And goddamn, sir. Thank you for tuning in, and this is Nerd Breaking.